Thank you, Judge. At this time, the state calls Lindsey McGraw.
Please raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible. You solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. Please state your full name and spell your last name.
Lindsey McGraw, McGraw.
And Mr. McGraw, if you don't mind, tell the jury where you're currently employed.
I'm currently employed with QS1 as a division of Smith Technologies in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'm a client services engineer.
Okay, and if you don't mind, tell them where you were employed prior.
Immediately prior to that?
Yes.
Immediately prior to that, I was a computer forensics investigator with the South Carolina Attorney General's office.
Okay, and about how long had you been employed there?
About a year and a half.
Okay, and where were you employed prior to that?
Prior to that, I was a computer forensics, well, there was a break. I was employed by by my son's HVAC corporation. I was installing heating and air conditioning units. I did that for about 6 months. Prior to that, about 12 years or so, I was with the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office. I was a computer forensics investigator there.
Okay, and how long have you been doing computer forensics?
About the last half of my law enforcement career, so I was 26 years law enforcement, 13 years computer forensics.
Okay, and if you don't mind, tell this jury a little bit about what you do in computer forensics.
Basically, I seize and preserve information and analyze information on any electronic media. That can be computer hard drives, external drives, GPS units, tablets, anything that contains data. I'll examine the data for information that's necessary to prove or disprove an allegation. I'll make a report on that and supply the report to the requester.
Okay, so you basically extract information and then analyze it by looking through it, like you say, to either sometimes prove or disprove a certain fact.
That's correct. The information can be resident on the media, or it can be deleted information. I have the capability of looking at deleted information, provided that information has not been overwritten. Excuse me, I got a cold. I hope my voice holds out.
Now, if you don't mind, tell this jury whether or not you have been qualified as an expert in computer forensics.
I have.
And how many times?
I've lost count. It's been more than 4, less than 10.
Okay. And have you been qualified in circuit court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, this time the state wishes to qualify Mr. McGraw as an expert in computer forensics.
No objection, sir.
Very well. Keep you committed to render opinions in that area.
Thank you, Judge. Now, did you happen to assist our office in computer forensics?
I did.
And if you don't mind, tell this jury how that came about.
Sure. I was contacted by the Oregon County Solicitor's Office because I had recently completed training with Berlin Corporation. They have a product called Ivy, which is an automotive forensics tool. And the tool allows an individual to recover data or extract data from a module, examine that data, and then make a report. In this case, this was on a 2013 Ford F-150. I examined the Sync Gen 2 navigation unit for this vehicle.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell them what kind of information comes off the Sync Gen.
Okay, Sync Gen 2 system is a combination of infotainment and telematics. Infotainment is a combination term for information and entertainment. That refers to the interaction of the driver with the car. Things like radio, air conditioning, climate control, anything like that. Telematics refers to the interaction of the vehicle to an outside source. So that would be external Wi-Fi, GPS, that type of thing.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Does it also record when a door opens and closes?
Yes, ma'am. In this particular case, this vehicle, the Sync Gen 2 nav system will record Things like driver's door open, driver's door closed, passenger door, lights on, lights off. It will record odometer readings periodically, GPS information, just a wide variety of information.
Okay, and did you examine all that information off the Ford 150, off the defendant's truck, through that sync module?
Yes, ma'am. That was February 18th, I believe it was, in 2016. Yes, February 18th, 2016.
Okay, now you've talked about all the information it collected, which includes opening the door, turning the lights on and off, and GPS.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask you right now specifically about GPS.
Okay.
How does that sync module collect GPS data off that truck?
It has a GPS receiver on the Ford Gen 2 nav system. The Ford has an SD card. It's a map card that's inserted into a SD card receptacle in the center console on this particular vehicle. When that card is inserted, then the navigation system is active, functioning, and the vehicle can record GPS location information.
Okay, so as long as that SD card is in the little space, in the, what do you call it?
It's an SD card receptacle.
Okay, then that sync module will collect GPS data, which is the location of the truck.
Correct. Current location, you can then use the GPS to plan routes, that type of thing.
Okay, now if that SD card is not pushed in, can the sync module collect GPS data, which is the whereabouts of the truck? Can it then collect that information?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now did you specifically look for that GPS data on the sync module in this case? Were you looking for GPS data?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell this jury what you found.
Well, I found a variety of GPS coordinates for the subsequent owner when the truck was resold. That was up in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Prior to the vehicle being resold, I found the first location I found, excuse me, was the day the vehicle was sold. It was at Beach Ford, so it had geographical information there. That was November 8th, I believe it was. I found some GPS information for Alabama, Lawton, Oklahoma, and Las Vegas, Nevada. It was an apparent trip. That was in November. The next information I found was a GPS coordinates for Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay. Did you find any coordinates of the truck being here in Horry County?
I did, but the only GPS coordinates I found for the truck being here was the one at Beach Ford, where the vehicle was sold, and then after that, the only GPS coordinates I found was when the vehicle was returned to Horry County in Conway.
Okay. And would you have expected to find GPS locations here in Horry County?
I would expect so. If the nav system was active here, I would expect to find some coordinates, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let me ask you something. Earlier you weren't in here. You just came in today, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we talked about the phone, and the phone Celebrate, and you do Celebrate as well, right?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you can get when the phone turns on.
That's it, depending on the phone, yes, ma'am. You can
Okay. It's got like a powering event.
Correct, power on, yes.
Now let me ask you something. From the sync module, can you find whether or not that card had been popped out, if that SD card was popped out?
Yes, ma'am. The system performs a test of that card to determine first if it's valid. It's going to check the serial number, validate it, and then, well, first it checks to see if it's there. If it's not there, it obviously can't do the validation. But it will do a validation to make sure the card is valid, and then start doing giving you GPS coordinates. If the card's not there, it will alert saying that the event log will show a card detached message in the event log, or the message log, excuse me. And then if that GPS is not functioning, the driver's going to get an indication on the display, on the My Ford Touch display. It's a yellow triangle with an exclamation point in it, and it's going to say navigation system's not working.
Okay.
And you're also going to get a compass in the upper right-hand corner, as opposed to like your current location.
Now let me ask you this though. Can the sync module give you information as to if that card, that SD card that's required for navigation, if it was popped out?
It will show that it's been detached.
Okay, then it's
Yes.
been detached.
Correct.
Okay, and once it's detached, it can no longer collect GPS signal.
Correct.
Okay, now tell this jury, did you ever find a date and time between the 17th and the 18th when that SD card was detached from the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was it?
Actually, that was one of the focuses of the investigation was December 18, 2013. I did find a message log fragment. The message log fragment started on 12:07 a.m. or excuse me, 12:06 a.m. 12:07 a.m. It showed logged an event that the SD card, the nav card, had been detached.
Okay, so on 12/18/2013 at 12:07, it showed that that nav card was detached.
Correct.
If the card is detached, is there any way for that car, truck, sync module to collect information as to the location of the truck?
No, ma'am, the GPS unit is inactive at that point.
Okay, so at 12:07 a.m., when it's detached, it's no longer possible to get the location of the truck off that sync module.
Correct.
Now, let me ask you this. Tell this jury, when that card is detached, and will the navigation work?
No, you'll have a display, an error display on the dash saying that the navigation system is not functioning.
Okay, and are the individuals in the vehicle, when it's detached, alerted to the fact that it's been detached?
It's a prominent warning or caution, whatever you want to call it, message saying that the navigation system is not working.
Okay, and can the truck still run?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Can the radio still go?
Yes, ma'am.
So when that card is detached, the only thing that changes is it's no longer collecting GPS information.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you a couple things. The first thing I'm going to show you has already been put into evidence. I thought I had already gotten it out. Well, before I show you those pictures, give us a minute to find them. I just pulled them out. I'm going to show you now what's been marked as 197. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
And are those your initials?
Yes, ma'am.
And that initial that you saw it?
Yes, ma'am.
And does this video show you what happens with the SD card when it's detached?
Yes, ma'am. They can explain it a lot better than I can, because you're going to see what happens when the map card is removed. It'll show the display, and it'll also show what happens when the card is reinserted and show that the navigation system starts functioning again.
Okay, and would this assist you in your testimony today?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time the state wishes to put 197 into evidence and publish it to the jury. And about how long is this?
Just a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Any objections, now?
Counsel?
Case admitted without objection.
While she's setting that up so we can be as efficient with time as we can you step down, Mr. McGraw? I want you to look at two pictures that have already been put in evidence, 103 and 104. And if you don't mind staying right here, Natalie, that's your microphone.
Okay.
Okay. Do you see the Ford? This has already been put in evidence. They've already testified. This is from the defendant's truck. When you look at 103, do you see the SD card that's necessary to collect GPS information?
Yes, ma'am. It's under the sunglasses and there are toothpicks, 3 toothpicks sitting on top of it.
Okay, right there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is the card you got to have in the truck for it to collect GPS navigation.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what are we looking at 104?
Okay, this is the center console of an F-150 pickup. That's what it appears to be. There's RCA jacks, there's 2 USB ports, but there's also an SD receptacle, which is designed to receive the navigation card.
And is it empty?
It appears to be, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm showing the jury now 104. This is just showing that that navigational card has been detached from the truck, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you don't mind, take us through and show us kind of briefly what's on this video.
Okay, this appears to be the navigation display on the,
Excuse me.
I'm sorry?
You can position yourself with the.
Maybe right over here. Here's the microphone.
Okay.
Move my stuff over, put it right there.
Thank you, Mr. Brawl.
Yes, sir. This appears to be a navigation display on my Ford Touch, showing obviously a navigation map.
Okay.
And that is the center console. And the SD card's been removed. And this is the indication you're going to get when your navigation system is not functioning. So the navigation SD card fault. And it gives you basically your options at this point for not having a card inserted. And giving the information to insert the card. That's what the system wants. That's the display, the compass on the upper right-hand corner. You won't have location information, you'll just have the compass. Drivers now reinserting the SD card. The system performs a validation, checks the serial number, make sure it's a valid card, and at some point you should get a proper display. Then you'll get, it's loading now, and you should get your current location eventually. Okay, there's your current location. It says Casey Street, something, I can't see that. And now your map display is functioning again.
So as long as the card's in, this truck's going to be collecting GPS information.
Yes, ma'am. There's an API module, it's an accessory protocol interface module that's right behind the display. That's basically the brains or the computer. That's what collects all that information and generates the message log, which is what I use to determine whether or not the card was installed.
And this arrow is showing where the truck is,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
It's showing the direction of travel.
And that would be the information that the sync module would be collecting if that card was attached into the truck.
Yes, ma'am. It'll create like a breadcrumb trail, GPS coordinates, however often it collects them, and records them with the, it'll be the latitude, longitude, bearing. It'll also have a date timestamp associated. Every GPS location will have a date timestamp that's referenced from the Phoenix epoch, which is a reference from January 1st, 1970. It's the number of seconds that have elapsed since that day. That's a universal standard from which the time is derived. But it will have that date timestamp. You can decode it and look, find out what exactly the time was when it was at that particular location.
Okay, so it's not only collecting where this arrow is, but it's actually collecting the date and time when that arrow is there, when
That's
that truck
correct.
is there.
Yes, ma'am. And again, we're going back, the SD card's been removed. That's the fault indication you're going to get on the display saying that your navigation system is no longer functioning. And it's no longer recording GPS information in the message log.
Okay, so now that it's detached, we can't see the little arrow showing where the truck is.
You won't get a map, you won't get anything.
And you see this here, this option, where am I now? Did you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you can't get that information without the nav card?
You can press the button, but it's not going to tell you where you're at, because
Okay.
it needs that navigation function to be able to tell you where you're at.
Okay,
So this does show that the card can be inserted, the navigation system can be functioning. The card can be removed while the vehicle's in operation. The display is going to go away, and the navigation systems are going to stop,
okay.
and you can put it out.
And removing the card doesn't impair anything other than collecting navigation?
Just navigation, that's the purpose. That's the purpose of life for that card, is the navigation.
And as soon as you put it in, it just reboots and starts right back up again?
It takes a minute, like I said, it needs to validate the card, make sure it's active before it wants to get paid, to make sure it's not a stolen card or something like that, or a bootleg card. But it's going to validate it, make sure it's good, and then you start getting geographic information.
Okay, and when was the card detached from the defendant's truck?
As I testified earlier, it's on 18th of December 2013 at 12:07 a.m.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McGraw. If you don't mind, I just got a couple more questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you do computer forensics and you also do Celebrate and phone data as well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are you familiar with phone records at all and
Yes, ma'am.
tower data?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so all this kind of goes together,
It does, yes, but I didn't do any cell phone or tower data
okay?
investigation on this.
Okay, let me ask you this. When we're talking about GPS data, are we talking about an exact location?
Yes, ma'am, it's exact within meters.
Okay, and when we're talking about tower data and sectors, we're talking about a much more generalized area.
That's correct. Towers use vectors to kind of triangulate where the position is, and it really depends on the provider as to how accurate those vectors are. It varies.
So the most specific data as to location is GPS?
Certainly.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Any questions, have it? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Morning, Mr. McGraw.
Morning.
When you were telling us about your background, I think you said that you previously worked for the Attorney General's office in the Computer Crimes Division?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you explain to the jury who the Attorney General is?
Attorney General is the chief prosecutor of the state.
Okay, that's the #1 law enforcement officer in the state?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did you do in the Computer Crimes Division?
I was exclusively investigating child pornography investigations for that year and a half.
Does the Computer Crimes Division also download devices such as computers, laptops, desktops,
Yes,
things
sir.
of that nature? What about cell phones? Computer Crimes Division downloads cell phones
Yes,
also?
sir.
So they do extractions on phones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I understand you were dealing with the pornography, child pornography portion, but that department, the Computer Crimes Department, also downloads devices?
Yes, sir.
Now, in this case, we're not talking about a phone or a tablet. We're talking about the black box that's in the car.
I'll accept that. That's fine. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir. When did you conduct an extraction on this device?
I did the extraction on the 18th of February 2016.
Okay, now who was present for this extraction?
Just myself.
Okay, how did you end up receiving the truck?
I didn't receive the truck. The truck was at the Ford dealership, Conway Ford dealership. I was notified I was there. I met investigators with the Horry County Police Department, I guess it is,
Yes, sir.
and the solicitor's office. Four technician was engaged to remove the module from the vehicle. There was a crime scene investigator from Horry County there with me. I think her name was Jill Domgower.
Yes, sir. We've heard from her.
Yes, sir. She took possession of the module, the API module, and then I immediately took it from her and secured it.
Okay, so this was February 18th of 2016,
Yes, sir.
almost 2 years after Miss Elvis's disappearance.
Yes, sir.
And at this point, you went to the Ford dealership and you said that there were Horry County police officers at the dealership. You said there were representatives from the solicitor's office at the dealership, correct?
Yes, sir.
There was a Ford technician and there was Miss Domgower from the police department.
Yes, sir.
Who took the device out of the truck?
The Ford technician took it out.
Okay, and he hands it to Miss Domgower?
Yes, sir.
And she hands it to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, from there, did you do your extraction at Beach Ford?
No, sir.
No. Where did you have to take it?
I was military term, housed at the Sleep Inn. I don't remember the address, but I took the module back there with my equipment. The extraction process took about 4 hours, so I babysat it the whole time. And then when I was done, I secured the unit. It was after hours. I returned the unit and a copy of the data, which was on a hard drive, and a DVD, and returned it to the solicitor's office the following morning.
Now, when you received the black box, was the SD card in it?
The SD card doesn't fit in the box. It's behind the console.
Right, so the card and the box are separate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you received the box, was the SD card in the truck?
I don't know.
Did you check?
No, that's not part of the examination to check the SD card.
Okay. So when you received the black box on February 16th, you can't tell this jury if the SD card was attached?
No, sir.
Now, when you did the extraction on the black box, you indicated that you saw where the SD card was removed.
There is a log that is generated by the device that is an event recorder, basically for diagnostics for technicians, but it does show that the SD card was detached. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let's talk about this event log. What other things does this event log record?
It can record things like odometer readings, passenger door open, passenger door closed, lights on, lights off, gear shift position, whether it's in park, drive, reverse, just various things.
Does this black box work independent of the SD card? That is, if the card is removed, can we still get odometer, door, and gear shift information?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sure about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you indicated that you found an event that showed that the SD card was removed on December 18th at 12:06 a.m. or
12:07.
12:07 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Did the black box show an event where the SD card was reinserted?
Not there. I have it, the log fragment that I extracted is about 20 seconds long.
So it's a
it's
fragment of
yes, sir.
information.
Mhm.
Okay, so this extraction, or excuse me, when the SD card was removed on December 18th, that is a fragment of information that tells you that the SD card was removed.
Correct. It's a 20-second contiguous fragment.
Okay, now as far as the reinsertion, you said, do you have an event on the black box that shows when the SD card was reinserted?
No, sir. Not from the 18th of December.
Well, how often does this black box record? Like every second, every 10 seconds, once a minute?
Once a millisecond.
Once a millisecond?
Yes, sir.
So there should be mounds and mounds of data in this thing.
It doesn't keep the information forever. The message log was renewed, or regenerated after it's no longer needed. It's basically a running information. It starts off as message log 1. The log is limited in size to 4 megabytes. Once it reaches that size, a portion of message log 1 is placed on message log 2, starts recording data again. When that message log reaches 4 megabytes, the first message log is deleted, new message log 1 is created. So basically you have lots of deleted information available until it's overwritten.
Okay, so the bottom line is you have a partial piece of information that shows that the card was removed and no information showing when the card was reinserted, even though the navigation box collects information every millisecond.
Well, it's not the navigation box, it's the API module. Yes, sir. It doesn't collect navigation information if the card is not inserted. It won't record GPS location.
When the SD card is removed, could your navigation box tell us who removed it?
No, sir.
Okay. Is a PIN number required to remove the box?
No, sir.
So there's nothing individual to a person that I have to put in like my social security number in order to remove that SD card?
No, sir.
Okay, so it could be removed by anyone.
Correct.
And in this case, we have a fragment of information showing when it was removed.
Correct.
And we have no information showing when it was reinserted.
Correct.
However, even with the card removed, we can see things such as odometer readings, opening and closing of doors, and gear shifts.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so were you able to find any door openings or door closings on the early morning hours of December 18th, 2013?
Give me a second to look. And bearing in mind that this is a 20-second fragment.
You didn't find any other fragments?
I found a lot of fragments, yes, sir.
Okay, did any of them talk about a door being opened on December 18th, 2013?
Yes, sir. There's an event here for driver door opened.
Okay, and when was that?
I'd have to do the math. It's within that 20-second time period from 12:06 to 12:26 a.m.
Okay, so without
Or
having
not
to do
12, yeah.
without having to do the math, you're able to extract off of the box that the driver's side door was opened one time somewhere between 12:08 and 12:26?
Well, not 12:26, it's 20 seconds, not 20 minutes. So it's
Okay.
going to be sometime at 12:06, I'll give you the exact time here. 12:06 and 59 seconds.
Driver's door is open.
No, that's when this is my date timestamp for the log.
Okay,
And at some point, within 20 seconds of that message log being generated, the driver's door was opened.
all right. Do you have a log that shows when that driver's door was closed?
There are lots of logs showing when it was closed, but not contiguous to this time.
Okay, well, let's talk about that time, because that's the timing issue.
Sure.
Do you have any logs that show that the passenger door was open during this time frame?
No, sir, not within this 20-second log fragment.
Okay. And you also, the navigation box will also record like extreme braking events.
I don't know that it logs that type of thing.
Okay.
That's more of an event data recorder for like for accidents.
Okay, well, it records gear shifts, right?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have any indication in the data that you extracted when the car was in gear in and around December 18th of 2013, 12 midnight or so?
Again, not for this 20-second fragment. No, sir.
So of all of the data that you have downloaded out of this black box for this F-150, are you able to tell this jury whether or not that truck was at Peachtree Boat Landing on December 18th, 2013?
No, sir. I can't tell from this log. No.
Are you able to tell this jury whether or not that truck was at River Oaks, December 18th, 2013?
I have no geographic information at all for December of 2013.
Okay. And you can't tell us whether or not the passenger door was opened on December 18th, can you?
No, sir, the logins before that might have been recorded, whether it was or not, I don't know.
All right. And your log indicates that the door was open, the driver's door was open one time.
Correct.
And what happened to the rest of the information that was on this box?
What do you mean?
I mean, you keep describing this 1/22nd fragment of information, and you told us that the box records in milliseconds. So it seems to me that there should be more information from December 18th of 2013.
It would be if it had not been overwritten, because once these logs, this is 2+ years since this.
You're right,
this tape.
sir. It has been 2+ years.
Right.
Now, is there any indication in your extractions that the black box was overwritten by Mr. Moore?
Don't understand your question.
Okay, you said you don't have information because it was overwritten. Do you have any testimony that any individual intentionally deleted anything out of the box?
The device itself does the overriding.
Right.
There's no interface.
Basically,
between
it's
the
2
user.
years old before they got a hold of it, so everything that was on it had already been overwritten. Except for that 20-second fragment.
Well, there are other message log fragments.
Right, because you had the trip out west, that was in the box also.
Sure.
Okay, so a substantial majority of the information that was in the box has been overwritten at this point? We're talking 2 years later?
Sure. I mean, I'm recording or recovering different fragments
Right.
at different times, but
Right.
the fragments are going to be small.
And is there any indication that any individual person intentionally deleted anything out of that box?
There would be an indication because they can't.
Okay, so the information is not there because the truck was being used, driven, events were happening that were overriding previously recorded information.
Correct.
Okay, just like
It's
writing
normal.
over a tape, a cassette tape, and just record over it.
And not necessarily like that, but I mean, during the normal operation of the vehicle, they're going to be, data's going to be overwritten.
Okay, and you did not get the vehicle until approximately 2 years after Miss Elvis disappeared.
Correct. I didn't have access to the vehicle until February 18th, 2016.
Now, you said that you extracted the information, and at that time the vehicle was at Beach Ford. Do you know where it was before then?
I'm sorry.
Do you know if Mr. Moore owned this truck from 2013 to 2016? Or if he had sold it?
I understand he sold it in 2014.
Okay, so information from 2014, 2015, 2016 would have been with a different owner.
Yes, sir.
Now, does this navigation box record the SD card removal event?
It does.
Okay, and in this case, you have that 20-second fragment that shows the SD card removal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you don't have any information to show when the SD card was reinserted?
You mean the subsequent reinstallation right after the removal?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay, and you don't have any information as to who would have removed the card?
No, sir. It doesn't record who.
And does it record any circumstances as to why the card was removed?
No, sir. It doesn't record intent. If it's, regardless of whether it's accidental or deliberate, the result's going to be the same. The display is going to say navigation system's not functioning.
Okay, December 18th, 2013, 12:07 is when you said you had that 20-second fragment.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any any data recorded before then?
What type of data?
I mean, any data off of that box from 12:05, 12:04, 12 midnight?
Not for that day, no. Not for the day prior.
Okay.
And keep in mind that the focus of the investigation was the 18th.
Now, the video that we looked at, was that you driving the truck in that video?
No, sir.
Do you know who that was driving
Yes,
the truck?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know whose truck that was?
No, sir.
Do you know if that was Sidney Moore's truck in the video?
No, sir.
Was that a demonstration video from Ford or something?
I have no clue.
Okay. You don't know where that video came from?
No, sir.
You said you didn't know whose truck it was, and you said you didn't know who the driver was.
No, sir.
All right. Now, I think you indicated that the car also has GPS. Is that correct?
The car, you mean the truck?
The truck, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Were you able to extract any GPS data for Mr. Moore's F-150?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was the one fragment that you gave us?
No, GPS information, talking about coordinates.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I recovered, obviously, the coordinates from when the vehicle was sold, the trip out west, the information from Kissimmee, Florida, and then there's a lot of information, GPS information, recorded with the subsequent owner.
Okay. Does that GPS information put that F-150 at Peachtree Boat Landing on December 18th, 2013?
No, sir. Again, I found no geographic information for December 2013 at all.
Okay. Now, I think you testified that you also work with Cellbrite.
Yes, sir.
And explain for the jury what Cellbrite is.
Cellbrite is actually a company that produced a device called the UFED. It's a universal forensic extraction device, primarily used to recover information from cell phones, but it also work on tablets and GPS units.
Now, I think Cellbrite extracts information off of telephones. Does Cellbrite give us location data off of telephones?
If the phone records it, it can be recovered from there, yes, sir.
What types of location data are there? What are the sources of the data?
GPS, Google Maps, if any GPS sensor on the phone that's enabled at the time for tracking, that can be recovered. Even things like the Waze app, which is a driving application that's available for different phones, can record geographic information.
So GPS is like cell phone location data.
It refers to the location of the device, yes, sir.
Okay. And how accurate is GPS?
GPS is pretty accurate, within meters, yes, sir.
Within meters. Okay. Now, I understand that Wi-Fi is another way to collect data. Is that correct?
Wi-Fi is wireless connectivity. I don't know that it actually collects data.
Could you confirm a cell phone's location or approximate location based on its Wi-Fi connections?
You could. It just depends on where it gets that data from.
So like if I were walking around this courthouse and I had my cell phone in my pocket, it would be pinging off of every Wi-Fi that's in the courthouse. Correct or not?
It depends on whether you have access to that wireless access point and whether you enable it or not.
Did you have an opportunity to review Heather Elvis's cell phone records in this case?
No, sir.
No, okay. It's my understanding that cell phones can be tracked based on cell tower location data also. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How accurate is the cell tower location data?
Depends on the provider. There are varying degrees of accuracy, I guess, depending on who is your service provider.
And some providers issue disclaimers with that data.
I don't know
You don't
what
know.
disclaimer you're talking about.
Okay, okay. So you did not look at the cell phone records for Heather Elvis in this case?
No, sir. My involvement in this case was exclusively with the navigation unit from the F-150 vehicle that was belonged to Sidney and Tammy Moore.
Can you put anybody's cell phone in close proximity to the F-150 truck based on your extractions?
There can be, if the cell phone is paired with the vehicle, I can show an entry that phone
Like a
was paired.
Bluetooth?
Sure.
Were you able to find any pairings for
I believe
Mr.
there
Elvis?
were some entries,
Okay.
but as far as GPS location, no.
Did Heather Elvis's phone ever pair or sync with this F-150 truck?
Give me a minute. I don't have telephone number information. If you give me your phone number, I'll look and see.
It's right here. I don't have glasses on,
I got Walmart readers, so I can.
The number for Ms. Elvis is 843-997-8152. Did that number ever sync with Mr. Moore's F-150?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Mr. McGraw, in reviewing the extractions from the navigation device, were you able to find any geographic data for Mr. Moore's truck for the month of December 2013?
No, sir.
So how do you explain the SD card removal event? How was that recorded? Nothing else was recorded for the month of December.
The system records the insertion and removal of the SD card. That's its function.
Okay. No further questions, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Brad.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McGraw, do you remember James Galmore asking you about the truck going to Peachtree Landing? Whether it had been to Peachtree Landing in Horry County?
James.
Mr.
Oh,
Galmore,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, the defense attorney.
I'm sorry. I didn't associate the name. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and if that card had been removed at 12:07 a.m. on the 18th, and he went to Peachtree Landing after that, would it have recorded on the device?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now let me ask you something. Was the navigational system working prior to December 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was collecting data?
Yes, ma'am.
And did it collect data of a trip outside of Horry County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all the way to Nevada?
Yes, ma'am. There were
Okay.
geographic points, yes.
Now, after December 2013, was the navigational system working?
Yes, ma'am.
And did it collect information outside of Horry County?
Yes, ma'am. Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay. So the only time it didn't collect data was when the truck was in Horry County?
I have no geographic points for December 2013 at all.
Okay. And we know at least one time the card was removed December 18th, the early morning hours.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I showed you a picture that's already been put into evidence that was taken at the end of December, and the card was still removed, correct?
Yes, ma'am. It was in the tray with the toothpicks on top of it, under the sunglasses. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it can't collect no data sitting in that tray, can it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, he also asked you some questions about Heather Elvis's phone collecting to Bluetooth or anything like that in the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, if her phone is off, would it collect to anything?
You won't be given the opportunity to pair that phone if the phone is off. That's correct.
Okay. And let me ask you something. Does every phone automatically connect to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
No, ma'am. You have to specifically authorize it.
Okay. Now, you have told this jury, and Mr. Galmore has asked you about the fact that it's a fragment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the fact that the system is kind of overriding as the truck is in movement.
Correct.
Okay. So you tell me whether or not this is correct. And if I'm not right, you correct me.
Okay.
So this sync module is going to show you information that is current, information that is about to be overwritten, and information that has been deleted. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, we already had somebody come in and testify about Celebrate. And he was saying, look, these are the things on the phone currently. These are the things that were deleted that we were able to recover. Is that a lot how forensics works with every computer? Sometimes we're able to get the deleted information, sometimes we can't.
Right, sometimes it depends on the system. In this case, the 4.6 Gen 2 module is a solid-state device. It's a 2 gigabyte, basically, hard drive, but it's not your typical hard drive like you find in a computer. It's not spinning disks. Data is written to cells. They're basically microtransistors. They're either on or off. The cells are arranged in a grid, and that grid is called a page. That's the smallest unit of information that the device can write to at a time. It has to write a page at a time. In this case, the page size is 4 kilobytes, I believe. But before the information can be written to an SSD, the cells have to be prepared. So they basically have to be erased first. That's not true on a spinning hard drive. So the information is deleted at a block at a time. A block is a multiple of pages. An SSD employs something called wear leveling. It's an algorithm where it spreads out the writes to the cells evenly across the device. Because the cells have a limited number of writes, I think it's like 100,000 writes or something like that. But once that number is exceeded, that device or that cell can fail. Okay. So it uses that wear leveling algorithm. It's kind of like if you had, if you were writing, say you had a square on a piece of paper with squares, and they're all filled in pencil.
Okay.
And before you can write to that paper, you have to erase one of the squares. So you would erase one of the squares and write to it. If you kept erasing and writing to that same square, eventually you would scrub through the paper.
Okay.
And then that's kind of an analogy about how that works.
Okay.
But since it deletes in blocks and it doesn't prepare the same areas for deletion, for overwriting at the same time, it's got to even it out. So you can have small fragments of data available for recovery that hasn't been overwritten yet. Because once the data is overwritten, I can't recover it.
Okay.
But these message logs, like I said, are 4 megabytes in size. The page size to which the device writes to is 4 kilobytes. So it takes 1,000 pages to make a log. So there's 1,000 little parts of this message log scattered throughout the device.
How the computer works, sometimes we can get deleted information and sometimes we can't.
Right. As long as the information is there and has not been overwritten, I can recover it.
Okay.
If it's already been prepared for rewrite, in other words, those cells have been blanked out to accept new data, once that happens, I can't access that data.
And let me ask you this. He asked you whether or not it showed one of the doors in the truck moving or opening and closing around the same time the SD card was detached. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified that indeed the driver's door had it.
Yes, ma'am. It recorded an event of the driver door opening. That's correct.
Okay, so clearly somebody was in the truck moving around and active at the time the card was removed.
I can't tell if it was, all I can say is the driver was open.
Okay.
Whether somebody was in, getting out, or out, getting in, I
You don't know. Okay, but clearly there was action on that door.
Correct.
Okay, and clearly shortly before that, the card was removed.
Yes, ma'am. It recorded an event for removal of the card being detached. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, from your experience and your expert opinion, if the card was not detached, if it was still in that slot, would it have collected GPS data after 12:18 at 12:07 a.m.?
It should have, yes, ma'am.
No further questions.
Retrial, yeah.
December 18th, 2013, from midnight to, let's say, 6 a.m. The information that you have extracted and reviewed and prepared to testify before this jury about, between midnight and 6 a.m., do you have any passenger door opening events?
No, sir. Well, not for, that I can relate to that specific date.
Okay. December 18th, 2013, between midnight and 6 a.m., can you put that F-150 truck at Peachtree Boat Landing?
No, sir. Again, I have no geographic information for December whatsoever.
December 18th, 2013, between midnight and 6 a.m., can you put that F-150 in the River Oaks area, Heather Elvis's apartment?
Not without geographic information, no, sir.
Can Sidney Moore delete the geographic information in this truck?
No, sir. You can't specifically go in and delete information.
Can anyone go in and delete information off of that navigation system?
I imagine somebody could, but
Some engineer
you have to
or something.
yeah, somebody way above black pay grade. Now you can do a master reset on this device. Basically, it's done to clear data if the truck was sold. If it was your truck and you wanted to sell it, and your information was still in that vehicle, the technicians could do a master reset. Actually, you could too, and deletes the information from the view of the user, not necessarily off of the chip itself, because that's still showing as deleted information that I can.
That information could be recovered?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you able to find any information about a master reset being done on this truck?
No, sir.
And if that was done, then you would have been able to recover it?
Depends. I mean, depends on how long ago it was done and what information was written.
Now, was February 18, 2016, was that the only time that you examined the navigation box in Mr. Moore's truck?
2018 is when I pulled it, excuse me, I did the extraction.
2016.
2016, sorry. 2016 is when I did the extraction. I got the 2 gigabyte chunk of data. But I did subsequently do an examination of the data using a different tool.
Okay.
Using NCASE. That's where I got this information. Basically, it's to validate. You use one tool against another to validate the information that you receive.
But your part of this investigation began February 18th of 2016.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. McGraw, you may step down. Do you wish the witness to be excused?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Galvin?
No, sir.
You also plead guilty.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Call your next witness, please.
Your Honor, at this time, the state calls Steve Silver.
Hold on here. Please raise your right hand. Place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. State your full name and spell your last name.
Jeffrey Scott Silver, S-I-L-V-E-R.
Scott Silver, I called you Steve, I'm sorry, Scott. Mr. Silver, where do you work?
Sam's Club in Myrtle Beach.
What do you do for Sam's Club in Myrtle Beach?
I am the general manager.
And how long have you been employed by Sam's Club?
8 years.
As a general manager, real quick, what do your duties entail?
Oversee all operations of the club.
Okay.
Day to day.
So you're the guy in charge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is Sam's Club?
It's a membership-based business, parent company Walmart.
A membership-based grocery store, retail store?
Wholesale chain.
Wholesale, okay.
Yes, sir.
What do you sell at Sam's Club?
Lots of stuff.
Probably easier to say what you didn't sell at Sam's Club.
That's right, yeah.
I think everybody knows what Sam's Club is. When you say a membership chain, what does that mean?
You have to be an active member to be to purchase anything at the club.
So I'm not a member of Sam's Club. Can I come buy items from your store?
No, sir.
So what do you have to do to be a member?
Just see the membership desk and we'll get you signed up. Be happy to do that for you.
What do you got to do to sign up?
Just show identification and fill out a membership information, and we issue a card, a membership card.
When I come into your store as a member after I've signed up, do I have to have that card with me?
Yes.
Okay. Was this the case back in 2013?
Yes, it was.
So back in 2013, to buy something from Sam's Club, I had to be a member.
Correct.
And back in 2013, to be a member, I would have got a card as well.
Yes.
Would that card have had my picture on it?
At that particular time, it would have.
Okay, so you actually get a picture identification card.
Not currently, but at that time frame, you did.
Do y'all keep records associated with memberships?
Yes,
And are those maintained by Sam's Club?
they are.
Are they maintained in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you now what's been marked for identification purposes as States Exhibits 198 and 199. I want you to take a look at those and tell me what those are, sir.
This was a purchase made on,
Well, don't get into what's on it. Just tell me, generally speaking, what you're holding in your hand.
I'm sorry, it's a receipt and a transaction record of this particular membership.
And are those Sam's Club records?
Yes.
And are those records that were provided to my office?
Yes.
And are those records associated with any person in particular?
Yes.
And tell this jury who those records are for.
The membership name on it is Sidney Moore.
And have they been tampered with in any way?
No, they have not.
Your Honor, at this time, I would tender States 198 and 199 in evidence.
Just a moment.
Sir.
May I hold those now? Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
No objection, sir.
Without objection, States 198 and 199 are admitted.
Mr. Silver, take 198 and 199. And what month and date and year are those records for?
December 21st, 2013.
All right. And I want you to take a look at those records, and I want you to tell this jury what Mr. Moore bought on December 21st of 2013.
On this particular receipt, he bought a 16-channel DVR surveillance camera system and a Hitachi 24-inch monitor
How did he pay for those items, sir?
with a Sam's Club credit card
And when did he get that credit card?
at the time of purchase.
So on December 21st, does it say what time, by the way?
It does 5:45 p.m.
So on December 21st at 5:45 in the afternoon, you're telling this jury that Mr. Moore applied for a Sam's Club credit card?
Yes,
And with that Sam's Club credit card purchased a surveillance system.
correct.
How much did he pay for that surveillance system, sir?
That was $799.
$799. And how many cameras came with that system? Does it tell you?
It's a 16-channel DVR.
So 16 cameras. What other than the surveillance, did he buy a monitor separate, or did that come with it?
It doesn't come with it, but it was purchased at the same time.
And how much did he pay for that monitor?
$148.
And based on what you know, is that monitor compatible with that surveillance system?
Yes.
Please answer any questions if that's necessary.
Cross-examine, yeah.
Mr. Silver, you indicated that Mr. Moore is a member of the Sam's Club.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do your records show when he joined Sam's Club, when he filled out his membership?
I could look up that information. I don't have it with me.
Is it difficult for you to look up?
It's not.
No, I guess what I'm saying is, can you do it now, or do you need to go somewhere?
Yeah, I would have to look it up.
Okay, it's not that important.
Okay.
Okay. But he was a member of Sam's Club.
Yes.
Okay, now the application process, explain that to us. What do you have to do?
You just come in and visit the service desk and show identification, fill out, or actually the person at the desk will fill out your information based on the information you give them. And
Okay.
set you up with a car.
So at a minimum, you have to fill out an application and present some form of identification.
Correct.
Then you get a membership to Sam's Club.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that done in this case?
Yes.
All right. Now, regarding the purchase, was it a legal purchase?
Yes.
Okay. Was it like an attempted theft or anything like that?
Not at all.
Okay. And the purchase was done on a Sam's Club credit card, as I understand it.
Yes, sir. What's the process of applying for a Sam's Club credit card? In this particular case, he was offered the card because we were running a 6-month no payment on interest at the time.
A promotion?
Correct.
Okay. But I guess the physical process of filling out an application, what does a person have to do in order to complete an application for a Sam's Club credit card?
You have to, fill out all the pertinent information for a credit application.
Do you have to present identification for that?
Yes.
Do you have to provide your social security number?
Yes.
You have to provide your date of birth?
Yes.
And well, at least as far as the date of birth, that would be something that's on most people's identification also.
Yes.
Did Mr. Moore do these things?
Yes.
Okay, and he did that on December 21st of 2013?
Correct.
Is there anything in your records that shows that Mr. Moore attempted to conceal this purchase?
No.
It's just an above-board purchase?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Through your rest.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. May come down, Mr. Silver, wishing to be excused.
Please, sir.
Any objection, Mr. Galvin?
No, sir.
You also free to leave, sir. Or you have witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This time, the state calls Chandler Melton.
Please raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a seat, please. Please speak into the microphone, state your full name and spell your last name.
Jacob Lee Melton, M-E-L-T-O-N.
Okay. And Jacob, if you don't mind, tell the jury a little bit about how old you are.
I'm 20 years old.
Okay. Are you currently working or in school?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were you working previously?
Yes, I was.
Where were you working?
Hill Construction, doing trim work, crown molding, putting in doors, so.
Okay. And where are you from?
Conway, South Carolina.
Okay. And have you lived here your whole life?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know the defendant in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know him?
Through his children and been a long time friend since elementary school, 3rd grade.
Okay, so you know him through his son.
Yes, ma'am.
What's his son's name?
Christian Moore.
Okay, and you and Christian became friends when?
3rd grade.
Okay, that is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, when you all became friends in 3rd grade, would you go over to his house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when you went over to his house, was it the one over by 814?
Correct.
And is that the only one that you know that they've lived in?
Correct.
Okay. And were you friends with him from 3rd grade on until 2013?
Yes.
So for several years?
Correct.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. When you would go over there, would you spend the night?
Multiple occasions, yes.
Okay. And would you sometimes stay a week at the time?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys were extremely close?
Correct.
Okay. And it was nothing for you to go over there for a week or two at the time?
Correct.
Okay. And so you, in 2013 and prior to that, were familiar with how the inside of the house and outside looked?
Correct.
Now, there was some testimony earlier about the color of the defendant's truck. Were you friends and had you been to the house when he had a white truck?
Yes.
Okay, and were y'all still friends? And had you been over to the house when he had that new black Ford 150?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind, tell this jury, when you were over there, did these people have a surveillance camera system?
They had a small a small flat screen TV, and it was split into 4 individual screens with a military date and time on the bottom of it, right-hand corner.
And tell them what you would see on the screen that the camera was showing.
The camera was showing the playground, and if you're standing in the house, the right corner of the house, the back of the house, and the driveway of the house.
Okay, and they still had this surveillance system at some time during the time he had that black Ford 150.
Correct.
Okay. Now, had you been over to the house close in time after Christmas of 2013?
Yes.
Okay. Now, during the time that you would spend over there, you're saying that you saw the monitor for the cameras.
Correct.
And where was that monitor located in the house?
It was mounted on the wall to the right of the bed in Sidney and Tammy's bedroom.
Okay. And if I showed you some pictures that were taken and already in evidence by the police department, would you be able to show us and go through the rooms of the house and where the monitor was located?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to show you pictures that are in evidence, 129 through, and I'm not going to, 150. And Mr. Melton, if you don't mind, step down, and that way we can go through them together.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we get the next one? Okay. Now, yeah. So if you don't mind, is this the front of the Moore's house?
Correct.
And had you seen this truck?
Correct.
Okay, you've been over the house when he had this truck.
Yes.
And this camper you recognize?
Yes.
And this is the front of the house.
Correct.
So do you remember where the cameras were on the front of the house?
Vaguely, but yes.
Okay, and show them where you remember the cameras being.
There was one camera at the corner of the house right here, and there was another one right here in the peak of the roof. And you can't see it in this picture, but if this camper was moved, there was one right here at the top of the chimney, and then there was one in the back of the house, but it was in the house in Cason's room.
Okay, and you would go over there often on a regular basis?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the front of this picture, there's some concrete, a shotgun shell, some bleach. Was this normally how this area looked?
Not the driveway, no.
Okay, okay. So this looked different than what you're used to seeing?
Correct.
Okay, and it looks different than the last time you had been over there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, show me again where you remembered, actually, let's go to the next one. I don't want to keep. You remember the inside look.
Correct.
And this is how the kitchen looked.
Yes.
And how many times, just in general, would you say you had been in the house? Thousands? More than thousands?
I'd definitely say over about 40 times.
Okay, okay. And this is how the kitchen looked?
Correct.
And do you remember these items kind of being in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how about here? What room is this in the house?
This is the living room.
Okay, and you had been in this room?
Multiple times.
Okay, okay. Now, let me ask you something. There's a lot going on in this room. There's some stuff on the floor. When you would come over to the house, is that the way it normally looked?
Yes, it'd normally be cluttered, a little messy, but not over the top, nothing too serious, but just occasional clutter.
Okay. Now, tell me, are you familiar with this room here?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were over at the house, were there always computers in this room?
Yes.
And were there always a computer here?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Okay, so this computer here is something you had never seen before?
I've seen it, but not in that location.
Okay. Now, how about this room?
This is the bedroom of Sidney and Tammy's.
Okay. And had you been in this room before?
Yes.
Okay. Multiple times?
Yeah, about more than 10, but not more than 40.
Okay, and you had been in this room back when he had the black Ford 150.
Correct.
Okay, now show this jury, you testified earlier that there was a monitor in the room. Do you remember that?
Correct.
Okay, show this jury where that monitor was when you had been in the house.
When I had been in the house, the monitor was right here where this picture frame is, and this was scooted over probably about 2 to 3 feet more to the left.
Okay, so where the picture frame is now was where the monitor was.
Correct.
Now, was it mounted or sitting on furniture?
It was mounted to the wall.
Okay.
Probably about a 42 to 38-inch TV, little LED TV.
Okay, and is that mount, is it one that just stays like a picture frame, or would it come out and swivel?
It would just pivot left to right. It wouldn't come out, but it'd pivot.
Okay, so you were definitely very familiar with this room, the camera system, all of it?
Yes.
Okay, and everything else looked pretty much the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how about this, what you remember in the house?
Yes, besides the paint on the wall, the green paint.
Okay, so this is something new?
Yes.
Okay,
And all the green paint over there.
okay.
In addition.
Okay, now let me ask you something, go back one, I'm sorry. Now, do you remember if there were any cameras in the home?
Yes, there was one.
Okay, and where were the cameras inside the house?
There was one, it was inside the house, but it was looking at the back of the house in the backyard. But it was in Casey's room, which is now Christian's room.
Okay.
It was.
And were there any other cameras near the stair steps?
No.
Okay. And you're saying this room, this green, was all recent, after apparently the last time you had been over there?
Correct.
Okay. Now, whose room is this?
Nikki's.
Okay, so you definitely know them well enough to know whose room's who and had been all over the house.
Correct.
And is this how the room's normally kept?
Yes.
Okay. How about this room?
That is Casey's room, which was Christian's room, but turned into Casey's room.
Okay. So you had known him and been friends long enough to have seen kind of movement.
Yeah.
One kid moves to another room, the other kid gets
Correct.
it. And how about this room?
That's definitely Christian's room. I can tell by the Legos, and I've slept in there multiple times.
Okay, so you've been in this room a bunch and spent the night in there.
Correct.
Okay, and is this how normally the room was kept?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the bathroom upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how about this area?
This is the play area. Once you come up the steps, before you enter any bedroom, you have to go through there. And Nikki's bedroom is to the left, and Casey and Christian's is behind me to the right. If I was standing right here, and the bathroom is also behind me.
Okay, and is this kind of how the room was normally kept?
Yes.
And again, I'm going to ask you, this is the top of the stairwell, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and this paint you had never noticed before?
Never.
Okay, and you had been over there when he had the black truck?
Correct.
And this again, everything else looks the way it always looked when you went over there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind, Mr. Melton, have a seat. I'm going to ask you a few more questions. Now, when we looked through those pictures, did pretty much everything in the house look like it had always looked when you went over there?
Not exactly to the T, but yes.
Okay. Was there any other furniture moved around that you noticed other than the monitor being removed off the wall?
There was a bookshelf / case that was moved. It's in the living room. It's moved to the living room from the bedroom.
From whose bedroom?
Tammy's.
Okay. So one piece of furniture had been moved from her bedroom to the den?
Correct.
Okay, and the monitor had been moved?
Correct.
Was there any other furniture in the house that had been removed?
No.
Okay. And you had been over there multiple times from elementary until 2013, which would have been several years?
Correct.
Okay, and all through those years, the monitor had been in their room?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't until, had you ever been in the house?
Yes.
Hold on, prior to, it's okay. Had you ever been in the house prior to Heather Elvis going missing, and the monitor had not been there?
Are you saying have I been there after the incident or before?
Before the incident?
Yes.
Okay. So when you were there in December of 2013, before the young lady went missing, was the monitor on the wall?
Yes.
Okay. Now, had you been with the Moores in that truck, in their truck riding around before?
Yes.
Okay, and you were over there on a regular basis?
Yeah, I probably was over there 4 times a month.
Okay.
Sometimes I stay there for a week, sometimes I stay there for 2 days.
Okay. Now, when you were over there, had you ever seen Sidney and Tammy wash their truck?
Never.
Now, there was a shotgun shell. Did you see that in front of the camper?
The red one?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
the red. Now, in your knowledge and talking with Christian and being over there, have they been hunting or to a turkey shoot or anything like that in December of 2013?
No.
Okay. And there was also some concrete in front of the camper. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay. If you don't mind, put that one picture up there in front of the camper. Before I put the picture up there, had you seen Sidney during the month of December of 2013 working around the house with concrete?
Not that I can remember, no.
Okay. Now, when you knew them, how many vehicles did they normally have?
1.
Okay, so they normally just had one truck.
Correct.
And who normally drove the truck?
Sidney.
Okay, and when you knew them, did Tammy ever work outside the home?
No.
Okay, and Sidney, did he work outside the home?
Yes.
Okay, and what would you know him to do for a living?
Maintenance on restaurants. He'll do pretty much anything. Just handyman.
Okay, and when you were around, he was always the one driving the truck?
Correct.
Now, in this picture, there's some quick mix concrete. Can you see that, Jacob?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and did you ever see him messing with concrete at the house when you were over there in December of 2013?
No.
Now, when you saw Sidney in November and December of 2013, before then, did you know him to have any tattoos?
No.
Okay, and did you notice whether or not he had gotten a tattoo during that time frame?
Yes.
And tell this jury what you saw the tattoo said.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Overruled.
What did the tattoo say?
The tattoo said Tammy above, right there at your waistline, like where you wear a belt at.
Jacob, the last time you were at the Moore's residence in December of 2013, did they have a surveillance camera system up and working?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You may cross-examine.
Mr. Melton, good morning.
Good morning.
Just a few questions for you. Now, how old did you say you were?
20 years old.
So you were 14 in December of 2013?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you and one of Mr. Moore's sons were close friends, I understand.
Correct.
I understand you and him went down to Florida to Disney World with the Moore family?
Correct.
Okay. You also understand went hunting with the Moores?
Correct.
Okay. There was some testimony about whether or not they'd been hunting in December, but you knew the Moores to go hunting on occasion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the, any presence of shotgun shells would not be anything unusual to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because they probably had shotguns in the house, correct?
They did.
Because they were hunters, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about the, you said you didn't notice any cameras in the staircase, correct?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Now, obviously, at this point, you're 14 years old. You say you noticed these cameras. Is it fair to say that you probably didn't know what was recording or what type of system or what these cameras were?
I knew that they were recording because I seen the monitor, but I didn't know for what reason they were recording or.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. They were facing the playground, right?
Yes, sir.
And some other ones were facing in the different bedrooms, correct?
There was one camera encased in the bedroom facing out the window looking over the backyard where the chickens and bunnies were.
All right. And do you have any idea when they installed that system?
It had to be around November, before November, October, because during the time we had went dove hunting, and I remember seeing the cameras and the monitor before we went dove hunting and in December.
Okay. And do you know what type of system that was?
No, all I saw was on TV monitor and 4 to separate screens with the military date and time.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Whenever you have knowledge about whenever Miss Elvis went missing, do you know of any threats or death threats that the Moores received
Yes.
at that time? They were. This was common knowledge.
Yes.
He was receiving threats from different individuals throughout the community.
Correct.
All right. And it's at this point he upgraded the security system.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let me ask you this: did you ever, anywhere in December of 2013, did you ever see any indication or anything that, after all this time, that you saw was connected to Heather Elvis at the Moore residence?
No.
All right. And when did you first speak to investigators in this case?
I would like to say January or after 2013.
Okay. Did you give them a description as to what you saw regarding the cameras?
Yes.
At that time? All right. How many interviews have you had since then?
With investigators or with solicitors too?
Both.
Probably about 6 or several times.
Okay. Let me ask you this: how many the death threats and the various calls that came in for the community, did that happen almost immediately after Miss Elvis went missing?
Correct.
Okay. And you know when she went missing?
Yes.
Okay. And because of your close relationship with his son, I imagine that was something y'all talked about quite frequently?
Yes.
Okay. Question, please.
Sir?
There was also a discussion about the various items of concrete that we saw in the photograph. You recall that?
Correct.
All right. And Mr. Moore was a contractor, correct?
Correct.
All right. He worked with concrete as part of his job.
Correct.
Frequently. Okay. And you've never seen Heather Elvis at the Moore residence?
No.
Anytime you were there? You've never seen Mr. Moore with Miss Elvis at any point?
No.
In time, in all your time at the Moore residence?
Correct.
No further questions, John.
Thank you. Read your right.
No, sir, Your Honor.
Thank you. Well, you may step down. Thank you. And you wishing to be excused to listen.
Please, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Boucher?
No, Your Honor.
You're free to leave, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Link for your next witness. How long?
Very short, Your Honor.
Let's call, go ahead and call the next witness. Thank you.
Yes, sir. At this time, the state would call Ms. Laura Garlitz.
Please raise your right hand. Place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please be seated. Please just state your full name, spell your first name and your last name.
Laura Garlitz, Lauragarlitz.
Good morning, Ms. Carr.
Good morning.
Who is Jacob to you, the young man that just testified?
He's my youngest son.
Okay. And do you know the defendant, Sidney Moore?
Yes.
How do you know Mr. Moore?
He is the father of my son's friend, Christian.
What about his wife? You know her?
Yeah, she's Sidney's wife.
Right. But are you personally familiar with her?
Yes.
And how long have you known the Moores, ma'am?
My son was in elementary school, maybe 10 years. He would go to their house. I wouldn't go. I'd drop him off, but I didn't hang out with Sidney and Tammy.
You didn't?
No.
What about in 2013? Did you hang out with them then?
No, they stopped by the house.
They stopped by your house?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was, ma'am?
It was a Saturday night in December. I think it was a Saturday before Heather went missing.
Okay, tell this jury about that interaction, please.
They had texted my son saying they were going to come by and show their new truck. And they came by and the kids were all outside and Tammy came in my door, Sidney behind her. She was, I could tell she'd been drinking. She was a little happy and bubbly and bouncing around. And she came in and she wanted to smoke pot.
And did y'all smoke pot?
Yes.
Both of you?
Tammy and I, Sidney didn't.
Okay. Did she drink anything in your presence?
No.
But you could, how do you know she was drinking?
I could tell just the way she was acting. She was all giggly and walking around like she usually didn't. Sidney was right behind her like he was watching out for her.
Did she admit to you she'd been drinking that night?
No.
No. But you did witness her use marijuana?
Yes.
Did she do anything else?
No.
How long did they stay for?
It was brief, maybe about 10, 15 minutes, and then they just walk on back out.
Was that a common occurrence with you and Tammy?
No.
Was that a one-time thing?
Yes.
Had you ever done it before with her?
No.
Have you ever done it since with her?
No.
So you're certain this was prior to the disappearance of Heather Ellis?
Yes.
Had you hung out with her since the disappearance of Heather Ellis?
No, I dropped Jacob off, I think when they got out of jail the first time. He was there for the day. And I think that's the last I saw of her.
So you haven't talked to her since?
No.
The night that she was drinking and smoking pot at your house, did she ever admit to you that she was trying to get pregnant?
No.
Please answer any questions that the defense may have.
Welcome down.
So, Ms. Garlitz, your testimony is that your son received a text about them wanting to come over and show the new truck.
Yes.
And then once they got to the house, that you and Tammy smoked marijuana together.
Yes.
And Sidney did not participate.
No.
Now, Tammy didn't drink anything when she was with you, any alcohol?
Not with me, no.
Okay. Were you drinking that night?
Yes.
Because it was a weekend.
I was in my house on a Saturday night, yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about this case on the internet. Have you made any comments on the internet about this case?
A while back I did, but no, I tried to stay off and not say anything because of the trials.
Okay, so you were on the various websites that are out there commenting on this case at one time?
Yeah, at the beginning there.
Now, have you ever been to the Moore home?
Yes, to drop my son off, and I walked into the foyer one time.
Have you ever seen Heather Elvis at the Moore home?
No.
Court's adult.
Sir? Nothing further. You can redirect. Nothing. You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you wish to be excused?
Please, sir.
Any objection, Mr. Dillon?
No, sir.
You're also free to leave. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we'll take a recess. Do not begin your deliberations, don't discuss. We'll be with you in about 15 minutes. Thank you.